Good evening and welcome to Lift Up New York. Tonight is a special evening for us here at CUCS as we honor our founder, Tony Hannigan. For close to 40 years, Tony has lifted up New York City and worked tirelessly on behalf of homeless individuals and families as the founder and CEO of the Center for Urban Community Services. Tonight is our honor to celebrate Tony as we highlight the extraordinary ways in which CUCS helps people in our city thrive. CUCS is a lifeline for New Yorkers in need, and our staff of 600 frontline workers span out across New York City every day. Our psychiatrists, doctors, and nurses are caring for people on the streets, in shelters, and housing residences. Our staff are helping individuals experiencing street homelessness to come inside, and they're helping them onto the path to health and permanent housing. We are connecting individuals and families to critically needed income support and food assistance. CUCS provides that hope and connection to vital services to thousands of New Yorkers in need every day. Now sit back and enjoy this glimpse into the work and dedication of CUCS. I think we can all marvel at the impact that CUCS makes on our city.
I remember we were going to the park and there was a notice in the lobby. It said it was offering some service for homeless families. And so we were on our way walking to the park and my oldest daughter was like, "Ma, are we homeless?" And I lost it.
Nobody asks to be in those situations. It happens to the best of people. The golden rule. Don't judge a book by its cover. Sit down and ask somebody their story. You might learn something.
When I get my own apartment, I want to be able to get on my own feet again and not depend on anybody. I look at this as a stepping stone to move on into my life.
You know, taking a convicted felon of 30 years and getting him housing, getting him a job, you know, getting him stable in life.
Start where the person is and what their interests are and what they want and what's important to them. Someone who's on the street, who's maybe been on the street for years, we don't necessarily start day one, hey, let's get you housing. For the most part, it's learning what's important to them, building that relationship first and showing that we're not just another person who's going to push them to do something they don't want to do.
Anytime we provide care to somebody or design a care system for people, we simply ask ourselves, would we want a family member of ours to have this kind of care? And if the answer is no, then we know we have to keep working. We don't give up on people. We stick with people and we just keep going, no matter how long it takes.
Earlier this morning, I saw a patient who's been homeless for decades, street homeless for decades. I've been working with her, and I do think that there's something about the consistency, feeling like we still care, we're still there for her, we're still showing up for her, notwithstanding feeling like the world is crumbling around her.
We bring clients into the program with the idea that they deserve housing, that they don't deserve to be on the streets. Part of what we want to always do in everything at every encounter we have with clients is to let them know that we believe that they deserve it.
The type of housing that I think we really endeavor to build at CUCS for families experiencing homelessness is light and open and airy, but also timeless, that they have a sense of permanence here, that they can really put down roots. I wake up every day feeling super energized and really grateful that I get to inhabit this space where I'm doing this building work. I'm part of the New York City landscape, but I'm doing it for people who need it the most.
There aren't too many supports for those who have experienced homelessness. So we want to be able to provide them with as much as possible in those moments of their life, and being able to do so has been a really great experience.
years, well, finally I got it. I got it.
Laid on my bed like an angel.
When he's tired and he wants to go to sleep, he can tell me, I want to go to home, I want to go to my bed.
I got my own affordable house that I could afford on my own.
As you just saw, the resilience and dedication of our frontline workforce is a shining beacon for New Yorkers in need. But we cannot do it alone. Tonight we're asking you to join us and help to lift up New York by making a donation to CUCS. You can go to cucs.org/donate or scan the QR code on your screen to make a contribution now. Every dollar raised will go to support CUCS. Now I am pleased to introduce Joe DiGenova, CUCS's Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Justin, and thank you all for joining CUCS this evening. I cannot overstate how incredibly proud I am of the CUCS staff. It is because of their courage, compassion, and dedication throughout this pandemic that we have not had to shut our doors for one single day. In fact, we have accomplished the largest one-year expansion of services and programs in our history. We have started 2 new intensive mobile treatment teams to support people with severe mental illnesses. We have transitioned CUCS's training programs that reach over 14,000 people a year to an online virtual platform. In direct response to the skyrocketing unemployment in New York City, we created CUCS Connects, a virtual program free of charge and open to all New Yorkers in need of income assistance, food support, and other resources. We opened a 97-bed stabilization bed program for homeless people who had been living on the subways. Finally, we recently opened a new supportive housing site. We recognize that New Yorkers will continue to rely significantly on CUCS as we see our way through this public health crisis. In response, over the next 3 years, CUCS will help create nearly 1,000 new homes for low-income and homeless New Yorkers. We cannot do what we are doing every day to lift up New York without you. So I want to take a special moment to thank tonight's sponsors. A special thank you to our Empire State of Mind sponsors, Breaking Ground, Bruno Frastacci Contracting, Judith Golding and Rob Brager, Beverage and Diamond PC, Lauren and Alex Rose, Julie Sandorf and Michael Weinberger, Anastasia Vornas, and Bill Urig. Tonight, we are celebrating the illustrious career and legacy of CUCS's founder, Tony Hannigan. 37 years ago, when he was working with individuals who were being evicted from single-room occupancy hotels on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, Tony recognized that there was a homelessness crisis bearing down on our city. From that moment forward, Tony dedicated his career to creating sustainable solutions to help our most vulnerable neighbors. It would be impossible to distill into mere minutes Tony's commitment and the impact he has made on the lives of hundreds of thousands of homeless New Yorkers. Still, we want to take this opportunity to celebrate him and capture the incredible legacy of Tony Hannigan. We encourage you all to send well wishes to Tony in the chat function as we watch this video in Tony's honor.
In the early 1980s, Tony Hannigan was a young social worker who had already begun to make his mark on New York City. He was hired in 1983 by Columbia University to grow its community services program. And over the next 10 years, Tony's work to help homeless and low-income New Yorkers on the Upper West Side of Manhattan literally built the foundation for successful solutions to help individuals experiencing homelessness in New York City and nationally. In the 1980s and 90s, individuals living in single-room occupancy hotels in Manhattan were facing mass evictions. It was there, in these hotels, working side by side with men and women who had no access to health care or housing protection, that Tony realized a homelessness crisis was beginning to bear down on New York City. His actions then and through the next 4 decades have created an incredible legacy that will continue to lift up New York for decades to come.
Based on the belief that individuals experiencing homelessness deserve to live in buildings just like any other New Yorker, Tony and other dedicated New Yorkers developed what is now known as the supportive housing model. Now replicated across the country, supportive housing is one of the most effective solutions to help people permanently move out of homelessness. In 1993, Tony led the spin-off from Columbia University and founded the Center for Urban Community Services, CUCS. With grit, innovation, and a deep dedication to helping New Yorkers in need, Tony has built CUCS into a New York City institution. Once a glittering hotel that fell into deep disrepair, the Times Square project, which became the nation's largest supportive housing residence, was opened. Many more supportive housing programs were to follow.
We're talking about helping people set up an apartment when they move into the building, pots and pans, shopping for dishes. We're talking about working with a person to get linked up to a mental health clinic in the community, seeing if the medication they're being prescribed is working out for them. You name it, we do it.
Tony, Paul, and Joe, and Julie used to come for staff meetings, and I was at the Times Square and I asked a question and I didn't say my name or my position, and when we left, he walked up to me and he was like, "Thank you, Tawana, I really wanted to know that." And I was like, "How did he know my name?" And he laughed and he shook my hand, and from that day I knew that he was a personable person and I didn't have to fear about worrying about, oh my God, that's Tony Hannigan.
Setting its roots down in Harlem, CUCS opened the Kelly, the first transitional living community for chronically homeless individuals.
I first met Tony on a visit he did when I ran the drop-in center at the basement of St. Mary's. We were expecting the executive director. In bounces Tony, and he is just all smiles and just so welcoming and so loving and so kind. Sits down with the clients at the table and has a meal with them. That did it for me with Tony. That was it. I really felt this was just such a beautiful, loving person that this is exactly where I want to be.
Throughout the 2000s, Tony continued building upon the innovative foundations he created as CUCS quickly became one of New York City's largest providers of care and social services in supportive housing and shelters.
I first started working with Tony in the late 1990s when we were working to open the Prince George. I will always remember the ribbon cutting for the building. Tony came and spoke a bit later in the program, but the very first thing that Tony said was thank you to the staff that had moved mountains to get people into their apartments. He was the singular reminder that morning that big things happen through the collective work of a team and the incredible dedication of the people on the ground doing the work. And I'll never forget it.
The first time I met him, he's this big, impressive guy. But then the first time I spoke to him, I was very young, executive in the field, and he was so kind and thoughtful.
His background as a social worker helping individuals with mental health illnesses helped Tony to understand that housing and healthcare are intrinsically tied. In 2011, CUCS created Janian Medical Care, its signature healthcare program. to provide health care to homeless and formerly homeless individuals throughout New York City. The remarkable success CUCS has had in keeping its staff and clients safe during the COVID pandemic is due to Tony's foresight in marrying housing and health care at CUCS.
The amount of knowledge that Tony has about New York City, about vulnerable people in New York City, it's an encyclopedia of how to care for people.
Today, CUCS spans across New York City. Thousands of individuals and families are rising from poverty, exiting homelessness, and becoming healthy because of CUCS and its frontline staff of over 600 professionals.
Tonight, I am incredibly grateful that CUCS's newest residence has been named the Hannigan after our founder, colleague, and friend, Tony Hannigan. Individuals and families are now in the process of moving in to the 116 apartments at the Hannigan. This brand new building and its naming is one of the many ways that we will keep Tony's spirit of service alive at CUCS.
Tony Hannigan's mark on New York City is vast, and we are a more just city because of him. Thank you, Tony.
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 Merci, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Justin, and thank you, Joe. And thank you all for being here with us tonight. It's been a privilege and honor in itself to have led CUCS for so many years. And tonight tops it off with such a wonderful celebration and tributes in my honor. That CUCS has named our new supportive housing residence in Central Harlem, the Hannigan, which is right behind me, is well beyond my wildest expectations. Though all of CUCS's initiatives developed over the years are my favorites, this new residence glows in particular because it took us more than 7 years to bring it to fruition and required dedication among many of us at CUCS to acquire the individual land parcels and the millions of dollars necessary to build the stunning 12-story, 116-unit apartment building for formerly homeless and low-income single and family households. I can't wait to visit in person when everyone has moved into their new homes. Not a one of CUCS's programs is cookie cutter, and each in its time of development brought new ideas, quality, leadership, and advancements to supportive housing, services, and training for staffs around the nation. It was not too long ago, for instance, that single household units and family household units for formerly homeless people did not occur in the same supportive housing development. We thought that geographically separating family households and singles was not normal and reflective of most apartment buildings, and CUCS was a leader in changing that. The Hannigan is an example. None of this would be possible without the dedication of a very fine staff, government support, and the support and interest of all of you, who with us are compelled to make a difference for those among us who are the most vulnerable. I cannot thank you enough. The success of CUCS's housing and services are also a clear testament to the ultimate strength and will of the people we serve to regain their health and stability and rejoin community life, which we all hold so dear. They have suffered many hardships and are often homeless and destitute for years on end. While retiring as CEO of CUCS was a monumental and bittersweet decision for me, I leave the position knowing that my successor and longtime colleague, Joe DiGenova, is a remarkable professional dedicated to the mission of CUCS. Thanks to him for stepping up, and thanks to our superb board of directors, And thanks to our Chief Officer for Communications and Development, Mary Taylor, for putting together this wonderful evening and videos. And thanks to all of you for being you and supporting CUCS's work and mission. Now, I'm really looking forward to having Marc Roberge delight us with a song.
Thank you, Tony, for all you have done to lift up New York City. It is quite the fitting tribute to mark your legacy with the Hannigan. Everyone, you can honor Tony's legacy with a contribution to CUCS right now. Go to cucs.org/donate or scan the QR code on your screen to make a contribution now. Okay, now we're thrilled to announce a special guest for tonight.
Let's welcome Marc Roberge, lead singer of O.A.R, coming right to your living room.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Marc Roberge. I'm in a band called O.A.R. Thank you so much for involving me. CUCS, thank you so much for including me in honoring and celebrating Tony Hannigan. The amazing work y'all are able to accomplish in this city of ours. I've gotten to meet a lot of you guys, and leaving that room that night, I was so inspired. I've followed your story. I've seen the amazing things you've accomplished across the city. And it's really important that we celebrate that. It's important that we inspire as many people as we can, like myself, leaving a room filled with y'all, to do better, to help people helping people. So a shining example of that is the Hannigan, which I was amazed by, and a lot of other things too. So thank you for including me, is what I'm trying to say. And I am inspired. This song that I'm gonna play is something that comes straight from the heart. It was written on a driveway with some friends of mine years ago, and I take it everywhere I go. It reminds me where I come from. You guys give chances to so many people and really inspire folks to look within themselves for the power that's already there. And that's what I think is so cool. Check it out. I appreciate you. This one's called I Feel Home. There are few things pure in this world anymore, and home is one of the few. We'd have a drink outside, maybe running out if we saw a couple men in blue. But to me, it's so damn easy to see that my people are my people at home. Well, I've been away, but now I'm back today, and there ain't a place I'd rather go. I feel home when I see the faces that remember my own. I feel home when I'm chilling outside with some people I know. I feel home, and that's just what I feel, yeah. Home to me is reality, and all we need is something real, hey. To a dark driveway. See now some feel bored, some are looking for more, but we all just decide to stay. Yeah, we got nothing to do, but when I look at you, I see someone that I know and I love, and just the crack of your smile makes me stay for a while. From home there ain't nothing above. In the end, we could only call our friends. There's something that remains to be true. In 1,000 years, after 1,000 more tears, I will find my original crew. 'Cause to me, there's nowhere else that I'd rather be. Sit right there, sitting in my home, on these long dark drives, on these roads every night. In my heart, I'm driving back home. I feel home when I see the faces that remember my own. I feel home when I'm chilling outside with some people I know. I feel home, and that's just what I feel, yeah. Home to me is reality, when all we need is something real. My home to me is the only reality that I know. place that I am, every step that I take, everywhere that I go. In my heart, in my soul, I will know. I feel home, I feel home, I feel home, I feel my home. Where I go, so my arms, in my eyes, in my soul, I feel home. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for everything that you all do. I'll see you soon.
What an inspiring night. Thank you for joining us to lift up New York at such a critical time for our community. Without the support of partners like you, CUCS wouldn't be able to touch as many lives as it does every single day. This incredible team relies on all of us to help them help the thousands of individuals and families in New York City who depend on CUCS's critical programs and services. If you haven't already, or even if you have, please take a moment and donate now. No amount is too small and no amount is too big. Go to cucs.org/donate or scan the QR code on your screen to make a donation now. Your support will help CUCS continue the important work Tony Hannigan started close to 40 years ago. On behalf of the Board of Directors, the CUCS staff, and all of the individuals and families they serve, thank you for your support and have a great night.